I'm actually going to give a presentation about that very thing tomorrow.
Today I'm speaking with Dave Dallas, Chief Commercial Officer at SunTech Transport. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Gene. It's great to be here.
Well, you know, the companies are always worried about profitability. So I'd like to get a few thoughts from you about 2 or 3 things, you know, that are key to keeping companies profitable.
Sure. So I think there are three T's really that I think are absolutely imperative to a company's profitability, growth, overall morale, and their place in the marketplace, the greater marketplace. Time, talent, and technology. If you take care of those 3 things, it puts you way ahead of the game. Time, everybody's busy. I think the third T, technology, maybe has actually, even though it's made us where we can use time better, but it's also created things that pull at our time and make us more busy and create busy work. So managing time for yourself, your employees, staff is really important. I saw a cartoon the other day and it was 2 guys sitting in an office 20 years ago. And one's carrying an armload of letters and cards and information written down. And he goes, how am I ever going to get through all this? And the other guy's sitting at a computer and he goes, you've got mail. And he's all excited. He's getting that first email. Today, we sit at our computers, we have 166 emails, and somebody walks in and goes, look, I got a card. So I think managing time is hugely important. Talent, I think there's a whole lot of talent out there, but attracting that talent, nurturing, developing that talent. The average employee now stays with a company 5 years. 5 years, that's not a long time. So you constantly have to be looking at talent, developing talent, and bringing new talent in. And technology now, I mean, technology is, it's not an option, it's not a, boy, if we had this, we would be better than the competition. It's now, if you don't have it, you're not in the competition. So time, talent, technology, you got those 3, everything else gets a lot easier.
So I'm sure that applies to all companies. Are there any specifics, anything specific about the logistics industry that you think, how you can relate those to the logistics industry?
Yes, with technology, starting with the third T, now shippers, you know, they always wanted to talk to you and you would talk about capacity and their load. Now, they not only do they not want to just tell you about it, they just want to book the load themselves. I mean, we have seen such a shift in how technology has impacted shippers today. So I will tell you, I think in the logistics field, the ability for a shipper, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to go in, book their own load, see that it's being taken care of and moving on to the next shipment or whatever they have to do is really, really important. I think with talent, I think actually talent has improved in our industry. There are so many great colleges, one of them's represented here at this conference, that offer degrees in transportation. Well, that didn't exist 30 years ago. If it did, I wasn't aware of it. So I think there's greater talent. They're used to the technology, so you're bringing them in and they know a lot of stuff that maybe we don't know, you know, as a more senior person in the company. So I think that has an impact on the talent portion. And the time, look, we just don't have enough time, and in our industry where goods are moving 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, managing your time is really, really important. I think our industry probably in some ways is no different than other industries, but in some ways maybe those time, talent, technology, maybe that's magnified in our industry.
Right, right. And I think it's always difficult when you have a remote workforce, as you often do in the transportation.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Gene. And so it doesn't matter whether it's the truck or the ship or the plane or the rail car, that's remote. There are people managing that. They're remote. They're always remote. In my particular industry, we're agent-based. So we have agent offices all across the United States and Canada. They're not even employees. Now, they're exclusive to us, but we stay in touch with them and we communicate, and that communication is absolutely imperative in our industry.
Well, let's delve a little bit deeper into this whole area of how you nurture and retain good talent, given the dynamics of the industry, as you mentioned, with such 5 year being the average.
So a lot of companies miss the most simple thing, and nurturing, developing, mentoring, and presenting bigger opportunities to employees is probably the absolute most important, most elementary thing that you can do, and people miss that. I read a report recently in the Wall Street Journal that explained why employees stay with an employer. And in third place, only affecting, well, it probably wasn't third place, Gene, it was way down the list, was perks, food at work, all that kind of stuff. You would think in the last 20 years we've watched Google and all the technology companies, and they skateboard through the office and they do all that incredible stuff. But when you really bore down into it, it's really not that important to employees. What's important to employees is to be valued and to have an opportunity. I absolutely believe, and the reports prove it out, people want to be the very best that they can be. And they want to be upwardly mobile, and they want to have a chance, and they want you to allow them to do as much as they can possibly do. And so that communication and that nurturing and that mentorship and that development, the CEOs and the C-level executives and VPs and directors who manage by walking around, it's 40-year-ago business principle. If you do it every day when I come into the office, I walk the entire floor and say good morning to every single employee. It's probably the most valuable thing that I do, and it probably eats up 40 minutes of my day. It's worth every minute.
Very interesting. Well, you know, we hear so much about the multi-generational workforce and the different ways that boomers and millennials and Xers feel about work and what they expect from the work experience and how they're motivated. What do you find about that?
So that's part of I'm actually going to give a presentation about that very thing tomorrow morning. I think you can overplay that, and I think you can give it more relevance than it deserves, but it definitely deserves some investigation and an awareness. So the baby boomers, look, I'm a baby boomer. We're getting old. We are absolutely on the outer ends of our career, whether we want to be there or not, even though we all work a whole lot longer than we used to. You know, now we're all working until we're 72, 73 years old, but still the baby boomers, we're on the back end of our careers. So then you've got the Generation Xers and the Generation Y, and now, starting in 2000, you've got what's called the silent generation, or Generation Z. There's real differences. That Generation Y group, the millennials, they have always lived with technology. So their entire lives, they've had more technology at their fingertips than we had until we were in our 30s, maybe 40 years old. So that's incredible to watch that, and let me tell you, I absolutely can see it in the workplace. They think differently, they work differently, they want more flexibility. They'll work as hard, but they want to work when they want to work, how they want to work. They want to be valued, and not that we all don't want to be valued, but they have a greater desire to be valued. It's pretty amazing. I absolutely think for all executives, senior management, it's worth really learning all you can about the different and different generations, and setting up a work environment that meets their needs and wants. And you know, at the end of the day, you get what you want, which is great, motivated, engaged employees.
Right. I've always been curious about whether, you know, I can certainly see in younger people a shorter attention span, but much shorter attention span, but at the same time, maybe that makes them capable of multitasking.
I think I think those are two great observations. One, I do think their attention span is shorter, and I do think that enables them to be, gives them the ability to do many, many things at the same time. But I will say, if you try, and I love young people. I mean, I absolutely love young people, and pay a little attention to them, do the walk-arounds, and give them a chance, and they're pretty incredible.
Do you think, I mean, you talked about needing to be rewarded and recognized, and we all do, of course,
sure.
But we've heard about the participation trophy generation, right. You know. I wonder, do you think sometimes, you know, at some point you need to say, you've got to be able to accept criticism, you know?
Well, so I'm in my 50s, and look, our parents' generation, if they ever told you you're special, it was an accusation. It was, oh, you think you're special?
Yeah.
That's when you heard it. So I don't know that that's great parenting. I look back and go, I remember, when I was born, and when many of the people probably watching, this tape were born, how did you go home from the hospital? Your mom held you in her arms in the front seat of a car with no seat belts, a metal dashboard, and if they really, really loved you, they might crack the windows they smoked on their way home. So the Generation X and the Generation Y, now this new silent generation, they didn't grow up that way. They've lived in a much more protected environment, I think. And that doesn't make them lesser or greater, it's just different. And I saw a slide the other day on somebody's presentation that I thought was pretty interesting. It was his daughter's award ribbons laid out on a table, and they were for 11th place, 9th place, 12th place. And that has to have some kind of impact. And again, I don't say that in a negative way. It's just a different environment. So I definitely do think, though, that at all of our cores, we really want to be valued, appreciated, given the chance to be the best that we can be. And I'll tell you one thing that I think is missing today is mentorship. I don't see a lot of companies that assign a buddy or a mentor to work with new employees, existing employees, and we all need a mentor. When you're in your 50s, there's somebody that you look up to that's probably in their 60s. And when you're in your 30s and generationally. So I would love to see more mentorship, more mentoring programs, to have companies set that up, and to be available in the broader marketplace too. In the 60s and 50s, 60s, and 70s, there were a lot of books, Zig Ziglar and Peter Lowe, Brian Tracy, all those folks. Some of those people are still out there, but I don't know that that's being fed to a new generation.
Right. Well, it's a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very much. Thanks.
I've been speaking with Dave Dallas of Suntech Transport. Thank you for watching.